right now we're at a very, in terms of just like half past midnight, we're at a very critical point in human history where we could make some key movements that could be the end for us. And it's just like,
So
unfortunately,
speaking of that, in my book, I have a section about the Fermi paradox. Are you familiar with the Fermi paradox?
if all alien, like if aliens exist, why haven't we
Why don't we
discovered
see
them
them?
yet, or why
Exactly.
haven't they communicated with us? Yep.
Right. So not to go too deeply, but Enrico Fermi, he was a famous physicist. They called him a prodigy when he was a kid. He worked on a Manhattan project to like build nuclear weapons with Oppenheimer.
Yep.
He has a class of subatomic particles named after him, fermions. But anyway, he's a scientist, obviously, and he's at lunch and sitting with his colleagues, and he's like, "Where is everybody?" And that it's really based on statistics, right? Like most people, we don't think about the universe and the galaxy, and really this is mostly a conversation about the galaxy. um he's like, if you really think about like just like five, I think like 500 billion, I could be wrong, but like it's like 500 billion stars in the Milky Way, right? A lot of stars. Each one of those stars could have it's like a star system which could have a bunch of different planets, right? So you got way more than that number of planets for that number of stars. um and then like the things that you need for life is like like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Like that's some of the most common stuff in the universe, right? It's not like the ingredients for life are like some rare thing. Like this, like almost all the universe is covered with all of the ingredients for life, right? So like you got all the ingredients for life throughout the galaxy, and it's 500 billion stars. And to the best of our knowledge, now recently we've been having some questions about how old the universe is. It seemed like it might be older than we thought.
Right.
But even at the time that he
Right.
was writing, he was like, the universe is like over 10 billion years old, easy. He's like, so if you got 10 billion years of time, you got the ingredients for life everywhere. Even if it's only 1% of star systems, or a fraction of 1% of star systems, you got 500 billion of them, right? Like that's a lot of places that will have liquid water and everything we need for life. He said, and if you can expect life to happen like it did here, there, like it doesn't take that long relative to the scale of the universe for life to exist. And then, how long does it take for life to exist, for intelligent life to exist? And then once you have intelligent life, like even us, like we've been here, you know, in our current form, because it's
Two
gradual,
hundred
it changes
thousand
every,
years.
yeah, like 100, 200,000 years, and like a lot of progress happened in the last like 300, right? Like just the last three,
Absolutely.
400 years,
Absolutely.
you go from not having too much to having,
You go from
electricity and the
horses, yeah,
internet,
horses to
AI,
cars. Yep.
yeah, all kinds of stuff going on, right?
Yep.
So like if we could do that in 300 years, what are we going to look like 300,000 years from now, which is nothing to the universe, right? So he's like, there should have been plenty of time for, if intelligence did evolve. There should have been plenty of time for them to invent crazy things and start traveling. Even if they only move at a fraction of the speed of light, there's still plenty of time to do something that we would have seen, right? For us to have detected something, we don't detect anything, right? And one of the dark explanations for that is that potentially intelligence may not be compatible with long run survival. It
That's
just
interesting.
might not be, right? And that would be unfortunate.
That's interesting. That is
They
interesting.
call that the great filter. It's like, okay, once you become intelligent, the system becomes unstable, and the intelligent life, destroys each other or destroys the planet or something like that. And we certainly could do that with nuclear weapons. And that's microwave oven technology from the 1900s, right? Who knows what kind of weapons we'll
Woo!
have in 100 years from now? And that's again nothing compared to the scale of the universe, right? So like, how are we, given our history of brutality and wars and our ever increasing technology, when you got one person like Vladimir Putin who could just launch the whole arsenal of Russia, right? It's like, how stable is that in the long run? It's not stable.
Yeah. I mean, that's completely like number one. Just an interesting side. I wonder if the term Goldilocks zone came from the Fermi paradox, where like you have the odds of a particular planet being next to or within
Far enough away
range
to
of a
have liquid
star,
water.
right? And like all of these conditions, and then that maybe that's where the term Goldilocks zone first came from. It could have been
Yeah,
from
maybe it came out. I don't
from
know what came first. Also, another thing that can escape the Goldilocks zone is if your core of your moon or your planet is warm enough to have liquid water, even if the planet is too far from the sun to have liquid water, because the heat can come from within.
right, right, because of the core of the planet.
Yep.
Yeah,
So if you include that, it's even more potential opportunities for life, right? So
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's. I think it would be unfortunate if and there's a relationship between intelligence and then at some point it just becomes unstable and
because
it
crocodiles been
would
here for
destroy
like
things.
60 million years. Like they've been here a
You're
long
right.
time. Ants,
You're
right?
right.
Cockroaches.
Yep.
Like we only been here again a few 100,000 years. We don't know if we gonna stand the test of time. Like if intelligence is good for long, like it's clear that intelligence is good for taking over the planet, but is it good for remaining here in the long run?
I
Based on
don't think
how we're
so.
acting, yeah, based on how we're acting, no. And so like the
No,
question is like we might be in a lose lose situation where you have folks like Jordan Peterson who's like, look, the best we can do is these old fictions, and we got to get back to it. And it's like I mean, maybe,
that's not. I
but
hate
them
that
old
though. I hate
fictions
that.
ain't good enough, and we need to be smart enough to not need these old fictions. Because if we remain there, if we continue the status quo, which is basically his argument, right? Continue the status quo of religion. It's like, well, the status quo is filled with violence. And like we can't afford that. We need to be better than the status quo. But the thing is, can we be better? Are we better? Are we even capable of being logical at that scale?
Some of us, some
Some
of
of us.
us, hell yeah, and that's where I think this is where again everybody who is like who has an IQ over about 110, we should all just leave. It's it's about that time. It's about that time for us to start making a plan to get up out of here because I think reasonably intelligent people I think can and I think in, I think there is a cap at which technology has outpaced our intelligence in terms of like our ability to hurt each other. And it's just like back in the day, the technology we were using sticks and stones,
Bow and
swords,
arrow,
bow
yeah.
and arrow, and now the technology has far outpaced us in terms of our ability to hurt one another. But I would say the intelligent, the most intelligent of us, I think we're reasonable enough to say like, hey, this is like if I shoot this nuclear bomb off, it's going to affect me. It's going to affect you. Or you going to shoot a nuclear bomb off? It's just going to destroy the whole planet. This don't make no sense. We ain't going to do it. That's where we have been. But I think it's I think some of us, and this is just a small percentage of us, unfortunately, I think a small percentage of us are reasonable
Well, the thing
enough.
it's not just intellect either, man. Like it's how we organize. So, for instance, and now not everybody's moral, man. Not everybody has
You're
ethics.
right.
So,
You're right.
let's say I'm a Vladimir Putin, and let's say my country's starting to turn on me. They don't like what we've been doing in Ukraine. We've been taking a lot of losses. There's too many moms lost their kids in this war. And I sense that a coup is incoming and it might work. And let's say I'm old and I know that if they do this coup, I'm likely going to die. They might even kill my family, right? So if I see this coming, I might be like, you know what? It was a good run. I'm gonna be dead anyway. Send the nukes, right? I'm dead tomorrow anyway, right? Like, what's it matter to
Right.
me,
I'm an
right?
old man. I've lived
Yeah,
my life.
I'm going
Yeah.
anyway. So why do I care
Yep.
about you, right? And then you just sense it, right? And it's like, is that an intellectual problem? No, that's a ethical problem.
Focus.
That's
Ethics. Yeah.
yeah, but like if you don't have ethics, what can I say? I can't say anything to you.